Hi and welcome to Veg. I'm your host, Kristen Zangline. Veg is a show that focuses solely on plant-based cooking, which means you'll find no meat, dairy, or eggs, but you will find plenty of fruits, vegetables, and grains. On today's show, I'm making a crunchy Asian salad, a warm miso soup, followed by some delightful avocado sushi. So grab a snack, settle in, and I'll be right back. Welcome back. We're going to start with our crunchy Asian salad. To start, we need two grated carrots, and we need one not super fine, but finely diced red pepper, 2 diced ribs of celery, a quarter finely diced red onion, and a 1/4 cup of parsley. You can use cilantro too, but some people absolutely hate it. It's kind of a love-hate relationship with it, so we're going to stick with the parsley. For the dressing, I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. You can use it from a jar if you don't have freshly squeezed. And here's 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. That smells so good. And a tablespoon of honey or maple syrup, or if you don't have either of those, like me, just a tablespoon of sugar. And then we need about a 1/4 teaspoon of finely grated ginger and a clove of garlic. So we're going to cut those up. If you smash your garlic clove, you can peel the skin off. Super easy. Get rid of that little. You can use a garlic press if you have one, which I do, but I always forget about it and end up cutting them. To peel ginger, the easiest way is to use a spoon, and you try and go with the grain of the ginger. See how easy that peels right off there? You can cut it off too, but this is, for some reason, a lot easier. And we only need a 1/4 teaspoon, so we do not need that much. I'll go with about that. And that's actually probably about a 1/2 teaspoon. Cut the rest of the skin off. Ginger it's very fibrous, and you have to kind of cut with the grain. You have to find it. I think I found the grain. But then if we cut this way, it's a little bit tougher to cut. And just dice it up. And you don't want to bite into a big chunk of ginger because it kind of burns. Okay, we got our ginger. Now we are going to toast. Oh, my pan is nice and hot. Ooh. We're going to toast up some sesame seeds and, ooh, look at them go. I got sesame seeds and peanuts in here for a nice little topping. All right, I don't need this anymore. All right. And then just pour them in there when they're nice and toasty. When you toast nuts and seeds, it really brings out the flavor in them. I've never made this salad before, but I can tell you I will definitely be making it again. So easy. Looks beautiful, and I'm sure it tastes awesome. And just pour our dressing over the whole thing. And make sure that sugar is dissolved. And there we have our Asian salad. So when we come back, we're going to work on our warm miso soup. Stick around. Welcome back. We're going to start making our nice warm miso soup. We're going to start with, this is about just, it's a whole tub of shiitake mushrooms. I don't know if I want to cut them up or not. I might give them just a little bit of a chop. We'll do that in a minute. We're going to start with cutting up our tofu. If you've never used tofu, I like to use extra firm for almost everything. And you're going to want to cut it into, this is about 3 ounces. This is 1 serving. And it stays pretty firm. It has a lot of water in it. It's packed in a tub of water when you get it, so you have to drain all the water off first. And then you can just cut it up, dice it into nice little cubes. My family and I love tofu. We eat it all the time. It was one of my kids' first soft foods when they were babies, and they love they still will eat cold tofu right out of the tub, which I find is disgusting, but they love it because they're weird. We're going to start with putting, this is a tablespoon of wakame. Wakame is a sea vegetable, and it's all nice and dried. As you can hear, that's all nice and crumbly and dry, and we're just going to soak it in some water. And then in about 5 minutes, you're going to see a totally different, changed consistency. I have about a 1/4 cup of onion. We're going to cut that up. And over here, I have about 4 or 5, probably 5 cups of water getting ready to boil. I'm just going to give it a rough chop. I think we want some bigger onion pieces in our soup. Give these a little bit of a more bite size. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of miso paste into a measuring cup or a small bowl. And then we're going to add our hot water for our soup. Add just a little bit, and then we're going to whisk it in there. You don't want to boil miso for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know the science behind it. Now to our boiling water, I'm going to add our onion. It's not quite boiling yet, but it's getting nice and hot. Oops, I don't want to drop it. And our mushrooms. Give that a little stir. We're just gonna cook them just a little bit. I added white onion or yellow onion because that's all I had on hand. Normally I would add scallions. Some nice green onions, probably about 3 of them chopped up. That looks good. Now we're gonna add our miso paste. And lastly, it is not miso soup without wakame. We're going to drain. Look at how much that, do you remember how small the dried seaweed was? And we're just going to drain that off. Add it to our soup. And there we have a delightful shiitake mushroom miso soup. We're going to start cutting up all of our vegetables to put into our sushi. We're going to start with our jicama. Jicama is a very strange vegetable. It kind of has a crunch like an apple or a potato. It's a little starchy and it's not very sweet, but the crunch and the juice, it's a weird thing and I really, really like it. And so does my family. This is cutting really easy. You have to peel the skin all off. Cutting it is usually kind of difficult. You'll see these spots, you just cut them out. They're even and brand new. This jicama I got a couple days ago and it was looking a little old when I got it, but we'll see how it tastes. I like to get a smaller jicama. Sometimes jicamas can come as big as your head. They can just be huge. And those I find they're not as sweet or juicy. The smaller ones tend to have a better flavor. They're great in salads. I like putting them in salads, or my absolute favorite is to cut them up into sticks and dip them in hummus. Super good. So you cut them, sometimes, since this is so old and it's very juicy, it's really easy to cut. With the larger, more firm jicama, it can be really difficult to cut if you do not have a super sharp knife and a lot of upper body strength to get through it. This one looks good and it's cutting up super easy. And then for our purposes, we are going to cut them into just little strips. Perfect. So apparently the older, terrible looking ones are the ones you want to get. Just as long as they're not moldy or slimy. And speaking of slimy, I am not entirely sure what the consistency or what jicama actually is, but you can wash your hands with soap and water probably 3 or 4 times and still feel a slippery, slimy feel on your hands, even after washing your hands. It's very strange. But don't let that deter you. This is so good. Now we're gonna start rolling our sushi. I like to keep my sushi mat in a plastic bag. It just makes it that much easier to clean up. If you don't wanna do that, you don't have to. So I made some sushi rice. You just make rice according to the package directions. I use mine in my Instant Pot and it's so much easier. So you wanna get a spoonful and spread it across your sushi, your nori sheet. And you can find these right in your local grocery store in the international section. And then you just want to spread it out. It's super sticky rice. Sometimes when you make the rice, traditional sushi rice will have a rice vinegar in it and it makes it kind of sweet. I'm not a fan of the sweet taste, so I just leave it out. If you push too hard, it can tear. So just gently coax it to where you want it to go. All right, now we can put, and you want to keep your rice covered so it doesn't dry out. You want it to stay moist and sticky. That's what keeps it sticky. Now we're going to put our yummy fillings in. Start with a couple jicama's. And then some pretty ribbons of carrot. I'm excited to try the pickled cabbage. I think it'll give it a really yummy flavor. Because everything else is kind of bland. So I'll have that little pop of vinegary flavor and crunch. And then our smushy avocado. All right, I put it about a third of the way up of the sheet. Now, I'm going to start rolling it. You can almost roll it without the mat, but you need the mat to make it nice and tight. See, when you squish it in there, it makes it stick nice and tight. And then to make the ends stick, what I do is I take a paintbrush with some water and paint some water on the edges. When the nori gets wet, it gets really sticky and it'll stick to itself. And then we're just going to keep rolling and pulling. That looks like a good roll. And there we have. So easy. And we're just going to keep doing this until we use up our ingredients. Do another one. That's probably way too much. If you ever watch any videos online, you can see actual sushi chefs, how quickly they can spread their rice. They are crazy fast, and I'm so envious. If everything's sticking to your hands, if the rice is sticking, you just get a little bit of water and it totally makes it not sticky anymore. You want to get it all the way out to the edge, maybe. Now we're going to add our yummy vegetables. This is going to be a very thick roll, I can tell. To make enough rolls, usually my family eats about 2 rolls a piece, and it would take me probably an hour to roll them all out. But what would be fun is to have kind of a little sushi rolling party with your family or friends, and each get a mat and roll your own too, and then you're done in record time. I just rolled these 2 in probably 5 minutes. There you go. And now to cut these. I like to use a serrated knife, and you might have to keep getting it wet in between because the rice will stick. So this one's been sitting for a minute, and you kind of want to let them sit for a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes or 5 or 10, whatever, and it helps the nori stick together and make it nice and firm so it doesn't break apart when you cut it. So I'm going to, let's try and make them nice and even and pretty. Yeah, look how pretty that is. And then cut them in half again. I can feel it getting a little sticky. And cut these things in half one more time. Oh, those are so pretty. And here's our meal all plated and put together. We have our delicious crunchy Asian salad and our miso soup and our delicious looking and highly flavorful fish-free sushi. Thanks for watching. Join me again next time for more delicious plant-based cooking.